I'm so glad you're with us today on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you to make better financial decisions in your life. And one way I hope you feel empowered is you share with me where you feel I gave incomplete, inaccurate, or just plain dumb info on this podcast. Today's the day I get to hear your complaints because this is the weekly Clark Stinks segment. Later, there's an app I'm fascinated with that helps you find a side hustle or part-time job in your area. It's another tool in the tool shed for you if you're looking for some extra income to grab it. But right now, it is time for you to hear where I have messed up.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
You must think I'm pretty stupid.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you're right, pal.
Oh, Clark, I roll my eyes when you get so giddy over people writing in, telling you the large amounts they invest. If someone says, for example, I'm saving 30% of my income for retirement, you never ask, does this person give to charities? Does this person help others in need financially? Does this person give generous tips toward poorly paid, hardworking service workers? Sure, saving for retirement is important, but I find such joy giving away some of my income to help others and charities I believe in. I also enjoy tipping underpaid and hardworking people in the service industry. Does that mean I don't save as much as I possibly could for retirement? Yes, but it is invaluable. As someone who enjoys helping others through organizations such as Habitat for Humanity, I'm disappointed. I think it stinks, but I'll still be a faithful listener. James.
James, thank you. So charity is obviously very important to me. It's central to my life. And when I'm giving advice here, this is about people creating financial security in their lives. When people do that, then it creates the opportunity for them to have more money to give to charitable organizations. But giving to charity, even though it's central to my life and obviously to yours, is not necessarily to everyone else. On the issue of being a generous tipper, that's something that is important to me too, and something that I learned over time is how important that is to do. But again, that's something that is important to me, and I can't throw that value onto someone else. I understand what you're saying, but what I try to do is lead by example, and that's why we encourage people to be involved with our annual habitat builds that we do in right now 2 cities each year and things like that.
Your Christmas kids, where you buy gifts for foster children. Yes. Well, other people give money. And
our generous listeners and viewers, awesome. This is our 34th year, by the way, of Clark's Christmas Kids coming up to help out children in foster care who've been let down by fellow adults, that other adults step forward and let them know they're loved and cared about.
You do not so much stink as getting a little moldy. When people ask about cheap health insurance or glasses, every once in a while you mention the VA. For those who qualify, the health care is good. They can get their hearing aids and eye exams, and glasses are free. I have had both of my knees done there, and it costs very little. Jim.
Jim, thank you. And I appreciate a reminder of the benefits that we do provide to our military personnel and former military personnel. So thank you for your service.
You don't stink, but I have an awesome response to the person who asked about the best way to get towing. Should they use AAA or not? So recently, my daughter's car transmission blew, and I needed to have it towed from the transmission shop to the junkyard where we sold it. And I went on to Yelp to find a tow truck driver. It gave me the opportunity to send the towing job out to bid.
No way. On Yelp?
Yep. When I called several of these tow truck companies directly, they were offering $90 and $110. But when I went through the bidding on Yelp, it was really simple. They sent me their offer to tow it. I gave them the address and where it was going, and they came back with their best price. It ended up being $60. I would have sent you a screenshot, but there's no way to send that through here. If your producers want me to send it, I'll be more than happy to do it. It's a great way you can save money, and I bet with your towing trip of $1,000, you could have gotten that down even further than the $750 you paid, Carl.
Carl, thank you. I never knew that there was
awesome.
the ability to put out a tow for bid. Wow, I'm going to check that out.
I was listening to your conversation on hotels and the fact that they abandoned inspections and lowered standards to hire more people to convert from other brands and sell franchises. I've worked my entire adult life with all the brands and can guarantee you this is not the case. Yes, during COVID they eased some of the operations standards, but they are back enforcing inspections, and guest scoring is a very important part of the brands. Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt are the toughest by far and make hotel operators' lives difficult when they don't comply. Mark, and there were other people in the hotel industry who wrote about this as well.
Well, Mark and the others in the industry who feel that I'm being unfair, this is something that I feel is a clear problem, that the emphasis in the big chains has shifted now that they operate almost none and own almost none of their hotels, that the emphasis is on waving things through to get the franchise fees. And if I'm wrong, I feel like I'd be seeing it when I stay in hotels, that there'd be more consistency with the brands. And they are very inconsistent now, is my experience. And I stay in so many hotels every year. And if it turns out that what I'm saying is out of date, I'll clearly see that over time as I stay in hotels.
You said we need to be alert and help our elders be aware of scamsters, and that the financial institutions should be doing their part as well. One of your favorite children emailed me recently about adding a trusted contact for just these reasons. From the Schwab website, what is a trusted contact? A trusted contact is a person or persons you authorize Schwab to contact on your behalf if account activity raises concerns such as potential financial exploitation, or if we have problems reaching you or communicating with you about your account. And they go on with some more, and that one's from Todd.
Todd, I love that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that Schwab had put that in place. This is the kind of thing that financial organizations need to do to be proactive, because in a minute, an entire lifetime's wealth can be wiped out by somebody being conned out of it. And having more protections in place, like having the trusted person, I really like that. And thank you for tipping us off to it.
I think what I smell is the sweet smell of success when I listen to you. I love your show. I'm just sorry I didn't find it 30 years ago. Couple of suggestions for donating money. First, choose an amount that you're comfortable donating each month. Then find those charities that are closest to your heart and donate to them. Let other people donate to all the other extraneous requests you receive. On the other hand, if you want to be open to giving to other or new appeals, deposit the money you are comfortable giving into a donation account. When the account is spent for that month, that's it. Hopefully, by the time you get to the elderly category, the habit will be ingrained. Bobby.
Bobby, I love that suggestion. I mean, this is a day of phenomenal
very
suggestions
helpful things, yes.
on Clark Stinks. But what about where I'm just really messing up? You got one for me? Like that?
Please stop going on about Apple's walled garden. It's 2024, not 2007. Every tech company attempts to keep their customers locked into their ecosystem. Google, Meta, Amazon, Samsung, etc. Apple is no different. Dylan.
Dylan, thank you. I think that others are trying to trap people. It is by design how Apple is established from the ground up. And Apple is a great company. They make great products. And I am surrounded by Apple acolytes, my entire family. You, Christa, your entire family.
Both my kids are.
I mean, they have been so successful at giving people this comfort zone. But there are also, being in a benevolent dictatorship, I believe is also a problem because Apple does not play well with others. You're referring to others not playing well with each other. And that's one of the problems with big tech. And I think that's something where antitrust enforcers have fallen down on the job. Is the big problem is innovation has been stunted because a small innovator with a cool idea is basically walled out, not just by Apple, as you point out, but by any of a number of big players. And we need to level that playing field so that innovations and innovators have an opportunity for fertile ground to establish themselves and grow as well.
Clark, your ideological bias on the post office is obnoxious. I've lived in Canada and the U.S. and can tell you with 100% certainty that privatization has ruined delivery service in Canada, and their lack of a public delivery service means the private delivery services like UPS don't even bother to compete. I've had so many packages lost sent to relatives in Canada, I don't even bother sending things north of the border anymore. Leave your libertarian ideology at the door and look at the facts. Public competition with private industry is a critical tool in keeping prices from going sky high. Owen.
Owen, thank you. And you're right. I do have a clear, built-in, wired bias where I am so free market oriented that my philosophy always is government should be doing things that cannot be done by private industry. And at one time, the work of the Postal Service delivering mail was key to a new nation having connections across, what was primarily a rural frontier. There were no modern communications tools. Mail was essential beyond measure. Today, it's not in the same way. And that's why I think it's worth a try to use the free market in more and more ways with things that government now provides that maybe would be better in a free market competitive environment. And so I'm so wired that way that you're asking me to just rewire my brain because I am so free market and private enterprise oriented.
I appreciate all you and your team do, but sometimes you wear one of your cheap shirts too many days in a row unwashed to save on laundry detergent. You tell parents not to feel guilty about not paying to send a kid to any school of their choice, but then you acquiesce to send your own out of state at a high cost, with seemingly little pushback on your part. Why didn't or why don't you just cover what the cost would have been to attend a home state school and ask them to pay or repay the difference? I realize you were and are able to pay any cost to send your own kids anywhere to college. Good for you and them. But then please don't whine about it on air like you did a little at the end of a recent episode. The apparent lack of fortitude you conveyed about your own case detracts from how you advise other parents. Ken.
Ken, the complexity of married life. My wife feels very differently than I do about this. And life requires accommodation and compromise. And in the case of my son, he is in professional pilot school. And there was not one available in our state that was robust enough for him to go to work for the airlines. So we looked at flight schools all over the country, and the real beef in this case is our son was offered scholarships at every flight school he applied to except the one he is attending. And I had to pay his full fall tuition recently, and I didn't want to throw up, but it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good paying it. And that's a family decision. I would have much rather my kids go where they got the best deal on college. But I only have one vote. And if you've ever heard me say before, my wife and I are the MasterCard logos and where we cross over. A lot of things we cross over, and then others we have different philosophies. So there you have it, and that's real life, and that is my life, and he will, just as my other two kids, will end up fine and should be successful in life. My opinion is like yours. It's a lot of unnecessary spending on their educations when they turn down much lower price educational cycles. And what am I supposed to be, a dictator and say, this is what you're going to do? What do you?
I'm staying absolutely out of this.
I see. Okay.
I want nothing to do with this.
The look on your face, Christa. Those of you who watch the YouTube show, if you saw Christa get more and more uncomfortable as I was talking about this. And, I should give Wayne a chance at some point to share her philosophy if she wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're staying out of that
I'm
too.
staying out of it, and I also sent my kids to expensive schools out of state, so I have no dog in this fight.
So we're both parts of the problem.
Yeah, I did.
Saying one thing, doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying anything. Okay, so what's coming up next, Clark?
Enough about this, an awkward pause. First of all, I should say thank you so much for your posts on Clark Stinks. I really, really appreciate them. Your fellow listener and viewer appreciates your posts. We all learn together. None of us have the last or final word. And so I know it takes time to sit down and write your post, and I'm grateful to you for doing so. Coming up ahead, having what's called side hustles, so much a part of work life now. So many people do this and do that, and do this, that, and the other thing. And there are more and more ways for you to find how to get a good connection to a side job that connects well to you, and I'm going to talk about that. So more and more of us are grabbing other jobs, or we're putting together a bundle of part-time gigs to come up with the money to pay our bills. And, it's amazing how much this has grown because of technology, with the ability for people to pick up various side work, or if you got laid off, to bring in income with various side work and part-time work and app-based work. And gosh, I think about how things change over time. At big airports in the country, there used to be taxi bullpens, as they called them in the airport business. And there'd be, at the big airports, there'd be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of taxis in the bullpen waiting to come forward to pick people up. Now, at a lot of the big airports, they don't even have a taxi bullpen anymore because the market completely moved to app-based rides with Uber and Lyft, and then there's some small ones around the country and others around the world. And markets change over time. And so now there's more and more info about the jobs available to you. And one of the sites that I've talked about for the last several years is Side Hustle, which is spelled really weird, SIDEHUSL.com. And it has a protocol where it asks you questions and tries to come up with what would be good side work for you, what would be good part-time opportunities for you. And this one is web-based. And then there's one that has really caught fire that is an app called Juvo Jobs, Juvo Jobs. And it's an app you download to your smartphone, and then it shows you up to the minute, supposedly, what they call a geography-first approach, where the whole idea of Juvo jobs is, and everybody's doing a different approach, where the side hustle one is all about trying to match you up with what seems to fit your skills and your interests, and it's not geography based. And then Juvo jobs is really all about the geography. What's available near you that are things you could do as part-time or putting together a series of part-time jobs or app-based work in order to bring money in, bring extra money in, put food on the table, pay rent, whatever it is. And so as the economy goes into a little bit slower gear, people are going to really need to come up with alternative ways to make money and add in side jobs with a job you already have. And it's just a fact we're going through a cycle like this. And I want to mention something. Somebody said to me recently, why are you talking so much about jobs right now? And we've done a number of topics on the podcast and YouTube show about things related to jobs. And I'm going to level with you. I still have some built-in trauma, if you will, from how anxious I was, feeling overwhelmed by the people I was hearing from during the Great Recession, starting in about 2008. And the job market really only got truly healthy again by about 2014-15. And dealing with the desperation people had about where they were going to live, they were going to keep their home, how they were going to pay their bills, and the difficult job searches. We're not anywhere near that now. But I'm feeling in me some of the concerns that I'm hearing from people feeling, there have been layoffs where they work or whatever, and jobs are not, even though the unemployment rate is still, by historical numbers, incredibly low in the United States, we're in a lower gear for the job market. So you're going to hear me talk more about things involving the job market and different ways for you to use your skills, to put them to work for yourself. And gig work can plug holes in a job situation for you if you do get laid off or have hours cut back. And it also can supplement income. And that's why you're going to hear me talk about it in ways like this. And if there are other apps, other websites you feel like we should be talking about with job opportunities, please pass that on to us. Christa?
Okay, we're first going to hear from Anonymous. I haven't heard anything about this on the podcast, but I was caught up by the Redbox/Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment Chapter 11, Chapter 7 bankruptcy that occurred a few weeks ago.
This is an employee, I'm guessing, not a customer.
I think so. And definitely from what this person says, there are several consumer-facing lessons that could be brought up to the public to educate. One, if you purchase streaming content through an app, mobile, Roku, or TV, and the parent company goes out of business, your library is gone with almost no hope to recover. And two, if your employer does not directly administer the health care program, but it's handled by an owning company, as in our case, that definitely indicates employee, there is the chance that the owning company can cancel the insurance without notice to the lower company employees. This for Redbox have left many in desperate financial straits.
First of all, Anonymous, I'm really, really sorry. Obviously, this has been a brutal blow for you and your fellow workers. Bankruptcies are hideous, and workers always benefit or suffer from the quality of management that an organization has or the financial strength or weakness of an organization. And I hope that you and your fellow employees are able to overcome this disruption and financial pain and find new opportunities. As for the point you made, the consumer-facing issue, we give personal information, and we now have these catalogs like you're talking about with so many different organizations. Think about if one of the music services goes bust and you've curated for a long time a music library and then bam, it's gone right away. That's the kind of thing you're talking about, and that is a reality today.
And this is from Vicky in Georgia. My store card, I'm not going to name it, charges a $2 interest fee when you pay your account in full before interest has been incurred. The charge is billed as a minimum interest charge, although there is no balance due on the account. Is this legal?
Unfortunately, yes, it is. And this is something we're going to see more and more with store cards, because I've been reading that the stores are whining that their profits from their store cards have been declining significantly. And so they are really going after what they call deadbeats. So the weird thing in the banking industry is a deadbeat with a credit card is what they call somebody who pays their balance in full. So store cards are starting to implement an elimination effectively of the grace period. Cards in the United States mostly work with a period of time that if you pay your balance in full, you accrue no interest. Essentially, the lender is making you an interest-free loan of money. And so card issuers are starting to say, no, that's not working for us anymore. And they're now trying to force you, as somebody using the card who pays balances in full, to stop using the card or to be willing to absorb the junk fees they're now going to impose on you.
It's crazy. Matthew in Maine says, I bought a house last year for $385,000, and the yard is a disaster zone. Half of it is clay and can't grow anything, and the rest of it is nasty weeds, and there are 4 big tree stumps, a hole in the back, and...
Clay in Maine.
Yeah, and with the current slopes, it's extremely difficult to mow. I've gotten multiple quotes from trusted sources, and it seems like it'll cost $15,000 to turn it into what I'd like, which is really just an average, normal lawn that directs water away from the dooryard, and it's not too difficult to mow. Am I crazy to be considering spending this much on landscaping? It seems like a lot of money to me, but I feel like it should be done at some point, and I might as well get it out of the way now.
Okay, so first of all, Matthew, I'm really sorry you're having the problem, because you spent all this money buying this house, and it's to be your dream, and this yard obviously, as you said, is a disaster.
The water thing is the biggest deal to me.
Water's ugly. So what would I be doing? I would stop getting quotes from landscape services saying what they would think the solution is. And I would hire a landscape architect, a licensed, trained landscape architect, to come in and evaluate the situation and come up with suggestions, maybe different ways to handle that yard than you've ever considered. And, you call in any landscape service, they say, well, we could do this, and we could do that, and we could do this other thing, and it's going to be beautiful. But, somebody spent serious time learning landscape architecture in school. You need that expertise. Then based on their expertise, then you hire someone to implement the plan that the landscape architect recommends that you'd be happy with. And it could be potentially quite a bit cheaper, and could give you ideas that you never thought of as the best ways to handle that yard. We lived in a house once that had a problem with the yard having trouble growing grass. Water was flowing, never, thank goodness, flooded our house, but water was flowing towards the house. And we hired a landscape architect. They came up with a design that was affordable, that made the yard work fine, and more important, channeled the water away from the house. And I learned from that experience how important it is to hire a knowledgeable, well-trained, experienced landscape architect when you do have a yard that's trouble-prone and troublesome. And I hope that is of some help to you. And I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that your weekend in front of you is absolutely wonderful. And know that we serve you all weekend long at Clark.com and ClarkDeals.com. And hopefully we're helping you fatten your wallet and helping you save money, because that's our whole thing, is you learning ways to save more and spend less and avoid getting ripped off. And we'll see you next week.